No, he stated, he's very brusque. He's a marvelous guy. He's very brusque, and he stated, I need to test her. And they said, what? This lady's in no way acted professionally. Nancy Culp appeared in 274 episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies, but it turned into a 60-second radio ad that described her relationship with co-superstar Buddy Ebsen all the time. What Buddy did become merciless and unnecessary, she said in her final interview. Now, the reality emerges about their explosive contention from their first day on set to the shocking betrayal that tore them aside. This is the actual tale behind TV's maximum sudden enemies. Let's start with Nancy. Nancy Culp, born on August 28, 1921, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Her father, Robert, turned into a traveling salesman who later have become a principal. Her dad and mom were very one-of-a-kind. One became always at the flow, whilst the other changed into focused on education. These variations formed Nancy's youth and encouraged who she had become. When Nancy changed into 5, her family moved to a small metropolis called Mifflintown, Pennsylvania. Life there was quiet and close-knit, a large alternate from the busyness of Harrisburg. With only about 1,000 human beings on the town, Nancy discovered to look at others and developed a sharp sense of humor. These could later help her as an actress. But the circle of relatives didn't stay long. Before 1935, they moved again, this time to Miami, Florida. The path to Miami was a large change. It became an energetic, developing town, full of energy and possibility. This comparison from the small city lifestyles Nancy had recognized helped her adapt to one-of-a-kind environments and those. It also organized her for her destiny, in which she should play all forms of characters. In 1943, Nancy graduated from Florida State College for Women, now Florida State University, with a diploma in journalism. She was 22 and already interested by storytelling and connecting with people. At the time, the college turned into focused on empowering girls, which fashioned Nancy's aims. She became additionally energetic in campus lifestyles, joining a sorority known as Pi Beta Phi. Moreover, Nancy worked at a newspaper called the Miami Beach Tropics. Her job as a feature author gave her the danger to meet and interview some of the maximum well-known humans of the time. She talked to Clark Gable, considered one of Hollywood's largest stars, and the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, whose romance fascinated the sector. Nancy additionally wrote approximately Myrna Loy and Errol Flynn, getting a glimpse into the glamorous world of entertainment. These reports may additionally have planted the idea of working in Hollywood at some point. Later in her appearing profession, Nancy joked that her experience interviewing celebrities would possibly have inspired one in all her roles. She once played an English maid in an episode of I Love Lucy and taught Lucy and Ethel the way to curtsy for the Queen. In 1944, while Nancy Culp becomes simply 23, she made a brave desire to join the WAVES application, which turned into a part of the U.S. Naval Reserve. This decision interrupted her studies at the University of Miami, wherein she changed into working on her master's diploma in English and French. After completing a journalism degree at Florida State University, Nancy fast climbed the ranks in the WAVES, turning into a lieutenant junior grade in just 2 years. She did important work like breaking codes, coping with communications, and working in naval intelligence. Her sharp thinking and attention to detail, which she had evolved all through her journalism studies, made her a treasured part of the team. She even earned medals for her career, like the American Campaign Medal and the World War II Victory Medal. One of the most exciting elements of Nancy's time inside the WAVES turned into whilst she worked on the Naval Air Station in Jacksonville, Florida. There, she labored along a young naval aviator named George H.W. Bush. Yes, the man who might later come to be President of the USA. Nancy preferred to comic story that she outranked him at the time. She turned into honorably discharged from the Navy in 1946 after contributing a lot to the battle attempt. In 1951, Nancy's existence took a big flip. She moved to Hollywood on April 1st, April Fool's Day, and she or he loved to Instead, she wanted to work backstage. With her journalism abilities and the connections she'd made at some point of the conflict, she were given a process in MGM's exposure department. Her job turned into busy and complete of demanding situations. She wrote press releases, prepared interviews, and made certain MGM stars stayed in the spotlight. One of her preferred assignments was working on the exposure for the movie An American in Paris. She spent hours convincing journalists that Gene Kelly definitely danced with an animated mouse, even though everyone knew it became computer graphics. Nancy worked with a number of the biggest stars at MGM, like Clark Gable, Ava Gardner, and Spencer Tracy. Her sharp wit and no-nonsense attitude made her stand out. That identical year, on the exact day she began at MGM, Nancy got married to Charles Malcolm Dacus. Their marriage didn't final lengthy. They divorced in 1961, and she in no way remarried. But the timing of their wedding and her process continually sparked interest. Nancy's pass into appearing took place absolutely by risk. One day, while she began organizing a press event, legendary director George Cukor overheard her joking with newshounds. He'd become so impressed by means of her humor and specific voice that he advised her she must be in the front of the camera, now, not behind it. He even gave her casual acting instructions and helped her study the ropes. Cukor delivered her to other humans within the enterprise and recommended her to take small performing roles. Her first role came in 1951 in the movie The Model and the Marriage Broker. She played Hazel, a shy lady who hires a marriage broker to find her a husband. George Cukor fought tough to get her the function. Even though a few people at MGM were not sure she changed into geared up, he made her do a display screen take a look at in which she needed to perform a dramatic scene at the same time as balancing an e-book on her head and ingesting a banana. She nailed it, and even the skeptics have been impressed. Nancy's first day on set wasn't clean. She needed to cry on cue for her scene. However, she becomes so anxious that she could not do it. To help, the director used a vintage Hollywood trick. He blew menthol powder into her eyes to make her cry. Even though it was a difficult start, Nancy gave an excellent performance. When the film premiered later that year, critics loved her small, however memorable function. They even said she had a brilliant destiny in advance. In 1953, she seemed in the film Shane. She played Mrs. Howells, a homesteader's spouse, in a completely short role, simply over 3 minutes of display screen time. But her performance turned into effective. In one unforgettable scene, she stood as much as the horrific man Rufus Riker and informed him, "This land is as a good deal ours as yours, Mr. Riker. You don't have any proper to pressure us out." It changed into a short line, however it confirmed her electricity and resolution. People remembered her, and so did the film enterprise. The subsequent year, in 1954, she turned into In Sabrina, a romantic comedy directed by means of Billy Wilder. This time she performed Jenny, a maid in the Larrabee family. It became any other small role, and she or he wasn't even credited inside the film. Still, her scenes have been funny and charming. One of the most memorable moments turned into, while she exclaimed, "If Miss Julia's souffle is not equipped in 5 minutes, I'll be compelled to serve the raspberry sherbet." It made people giggle, and despite the fact that her function changed into tiny, it were given her observed by critics and fans alike. These roles, although brief, gave her profession a huge increase. Her huge destroy got here in 1955, while she joined The Bob Cummings Show, also referred to as Love That Bob. She played Pamela Livingstone, a quirky hen-looking neighbor with a crush on Bob Collins, the primary man, or woman. Pamela changed into a fun, eccentric character, and Nancy made her unforgettable. Her catchphrase, "Ooh, Bob," in her particular, slightly nasal voice, have become one of the display's highlights. Fans cherished it, and her fan mail even increased by way of 22% after one specifically funny episode. In that episode, Pamela attempts to use reverse psychology on Bob, which ends up in hilarious misunderstandings. Critics additionally loved her performance, calling her comedic timing perfect. This role made her a household name and opened doorways to different TV opportunities. Didn't forestall at comedy, she showed she should do critical roles too. She regarded twice on Perry Mason, a famous legal drama. In one episode, she performed a key witness in a homicide trial, showing vulnerability and energy at the equal time. Critics praised her for her capability to make her character's sense real. Then, in 1962, she did something very one-of-a-kind. She became in an episode of The Twilight Zone called The Fugitive. She played a strict aunt who disapproved of her niece's alien buddy. This was far from her regular humorous roles, but she nailed it. The episode became one of the most watched of the season, and it helped her get extra dramatic roles. Nancy also regarded on other famous indicates like The Real McCoys and the Jack Benny program. No count number how small the element, she always made an impact. On the other hand, Buddy Ebsen's adventure started in an unsurprising manner. Born Christian Ludolf Ebsen Jr. on April 2, 1908, in Orlando, Florida, he grew up in his father's dance studio. As a boy, he failed to enjoy dancing or even thought it become sissified. However, things modified while he turned 20 in 1928. With handiest $26.75 in his pocket, Buddy went to New York City, dreaming of a higher existence.